What's happening, gamers? So I still haven't found my head, and some of you said you found it, and I don't believe you. So we're just gonna have to assume that I'm never gonna get it back. I don't know. I hope I get it back. I want it back. So all joking aside, I am doing a suggestion review. So this is suggestion review number 3 for Islands. So I'm gonna walk through a bunch of different topics. Some are gonna be about dupers and scammers. Some are just general quality of life, and then some are just content wish list items. So I'm hoping we'll get some of these. We'll see. We'll see if we get some of these. Some of these ideas might actually be bad too, so don't blame me if some of them were bad, okay? If they're bad, then I didn't come up with it. It was someone else that did it. It was my cow's idea. First up, I want to talk about scammers and cheaters. I want them to be able to fix all the dupes. So the challenge is getting information for all the dupes. So we need more information on how players are currently duping in the game. They did patch a bunch of methods. So if you're aware of an active dupe method, I will need that information. So if you do know of a dupe method, let me know. You can DM me. You can @ me on Twitter. You can also DM me. I'm going to be opening up my DMs again for a little bit. I won't be able to read all of them. So whenever I open up my DMs, I get a ton of spam. So by the time I reach any valid messages, I am exhausted from going through spam. So generally speaking, I don't really reply a whole lot to DMs these days. So I don't really like keeping them open too long because I don't want you thinking I'm being rude by not replying. So that's why I generally don't have them open. But in this case, I will keep them open for a few days. I will try to reply to you by the weekend if I can. Depends on update plans, you know, if they update. So we want to patch all the dupes, and then we need to put a cap on items. I think there needs to be a cap on items. Some of the inventories I've seen, some people have like a million vamp bows, for example, millions of starfruit seeds. They have millions of titles. So items are getting duped pretty heavily still. And that's why I think, you know, if there's a way to slow it down, just to make it harder, because with any kind of security patch, if you just make it not worth their time, they're not going to go through the trouble. Security 101 is if the level of difficulty is greater than the item's worth, then they're not going to do it. So if you were to add some caps to items, so like maybe things were, you know, limited to 10,000, because who really needs more than 10,000 vampos? Who really needs more than 10,000, you know, fireflies? I had 2,000 fireflies, and let me tell you, that is a lot of fireflies. Why does someone need more than 2,000 fireflies, for example? Why do I need more than 2,000 pickaxes? But I got these donated to me, so this is for drop parties. I really don't need this many, but I have plans for some more drop parties coming up, so that's fine because I'm giving them away to a lot of different players. It makes more sense. But for someone to have a million of these pickaxes on their account makes no sense, right? Next up, we've got blueprints. So blueprints should not be droppable and should also be non-tradable. What I mean by that is as soon as you get a blueprint, I think it should be consumed automatically by the game. I know that sounds horrible. I know some of you were thinking like, no, DB, that's a bad idea. No, it's not a bad idea. Think about this. Think about this. So if you just grinded for the Rage Blade, guess what? Someone took that blueprint and duped it. You remember my video yesterday? I was saying this item's being duped. Yeah, it's been duped a lot already. People are selling these things for cheap. Literally, the Rage Blade just crashed in value yesterday. So if you're looking for a blueprint, you know, I guess the good news for you is that it's cheap now. But the bad news for those of us that actually spent 24 hours grinding for a blueprint, it's worthless. So that's what I'm talking about. So it's incredibly discouraging. I was telling Jesse the other day, man, I just felt disgusted the entire time I was grinding for that blueprint. I felt disgusted knowing I'm grinding for this blueprint while someone's going to go and buy a duped version. Someone's going to go buy a duped version. And I know I shouldn't care so much about that kind of stuff, but it's a bad feeling knowing someone's just going to go and get this for probably, at some point, these blueprints are going to be worth, you know, probably 500,000 or 100,000, just like the vamp blueprint, you know, and just like the title. I actually earned my title. So I earned my title blueprint by I spent 6 hours on that title blueprint that is now worth only 100,000. And I don't think there should ever be tradable blueprints. And I get that, you know, the whole economy and like we want to be able to have tradable items and more items that we can go and trade with each other and help out players that haven't gotten the blueprint yet. And it just helps, you know, because you can kind of complete your collections and stuff. But I think you can complete your collections by trading the item that is crafted from the blueprint. I think blueprints should be account locked. And just to prevent any kind of dropping of items or trading of items, I think they should just be consumed automatically. Now, if you want to, you could always make it so that if someone gets a blueprint again, it just gets converted to what it's worth from a vendor. Or if you really want to, you could make it so that, you know, maybe there's like a new inventory screen here that's like locked items, and inside there you can only trade stuff to a vendor, you know, so you can only sell stuff to a vendor, but you can never drop it. That'd be fine too. We need to fix this economy. I care a lot about it. I felt like I should stop caring about it. And talking with the game team, you know, they still care about it, so I will too. I mean, maybe we don't even need duplicate blueprints. Maybe you just give me something else. If, you know, maybe it re-rolls in the back end. So whatever logic is used for rolling for these items from killing Bufflecore, maybe I'd rather have a Bufflecore crystal instead of another blueprint. You know, maybe I'd rather have something else, because at least buffalo core crystals are going to continue to keep in value. So again, hopefully we can fix the dupes, but I just don't think we're going to ever be able to fix the dupes. If we can, then this is all solved, right? If we can fix the dupes all together, this is all solved, and it's kind of pointless that I'm even talking about putting a cap on things or making blueprints non-droppable. The thing is if you add a cap to everyone right now, that means all these inventories with millions and millions of items would get truncated to a reasonable amount. I'm curious what you all think about it. Next up, I want to talk about scammers. So I want to talk about scammers. And what I think should happen is for new accounts, just kind of like tutorials, the first time you ever give a player permissions for build, I think it needs to warn them. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I think it needs to warn you that you're about to give build permissions to someone and that they could scam you. And as long as it warns the player once, I think that's good enough. I just feel like a lot of new players don't realize people are going to scam them. And so they are just not really given any kind of hand-holding or warning. And like even games like Bubblegum Sim, any games with like, I think even Adopt Me, a lot of them just tell you, they warn you before you do a trade. They're like, hey, before you do this, you know, just so you know, nothing can be recovered if you were to do this. And I think they did that for island resets. I think they did it for island resets, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so do something like this. Just use the same stuff. Say like build permissions. Are you sure you want to give build permissions to this person? You might lose your inventory and items if they take it. It will be permanently lost if they leave your island with your items. And we do not punish scammers. I mean, that needs to be spelled out. We do not punish scammers. So there needs to be some kind of warning there. The other thing I think needs to happen is format vending machines values, because a lot of the times I'll like join someone's server and they've like really messed with the coin values. I've suggested this a bunch of times, and I know a lot of other people have too, but look at this right here. I've seen people actually put this for sell mode for 3.5 million. You get what I'm saying? So they just removed a 0. So it still looks like 35 million. This right here is being sold for 2 million, but I've seen people try to charge 20 million for these. If this one's selling for 1 million, I've seen people do 10 million. The problem is people stop counting the zeros after they see a certain number of zeros, so it's bad. It's just another way of scamming. And then the other thing that happens is, and I hear all the time, I hear about this all the time, where someone's in here, right? They're about to buy something for a really good price, and then the seller in the back end, they change it to sell mode. And here's the thing, that's supposed to kick you out, and I think it does, but what's happening is I think they're giving build permissions to their friends, and it doesn't kick them out. If I wanted to scam you, then, you know, if you're trying to buy something from me, and I know you probably have a steel mill on you, then I'm going to switch it to sell mode last minute. What if I like baited you and said, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put this at like 100,000, right? Maybe this is a smelter, and you're like, dude, a smelter for 400,000. You go in, and then I switch it to sell mode, and you end up selling your smelter for 400,000 instead of buying it for 400,000. Now, it was supposed to kick you out, but I think what's happening is the person's giving build permissions to their friend, and if their friend edits, then it doesn't kick you out. Apparently, there's some kind of bug there. So you got to be careful about that. Continuing on the topic of vending machines, I think we need to talk about this. So you can see here, I don't really go into tens of thousands anymore at some point. So say this was an item that was going into 600,000. I think once you get past like 600,000, it should start incrementing 100,000 each, because the next one should be 700, 800, 900, 1 million. Right? And then it would be 1.1 million, 1.2 million, 1.3 million, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, 2 million. So that would be a faster way to increment versus this, because I don't think there's really any reason ever after you get to 600,000. Once you get around here, what's the difference between 660,000 and 700,000, or 630,000 and just 600,000? So like it would just basically just round up by 100,000. I don't think it makes sense to really get into like this is only worth 640,000. This one's worth 650,000. I don't think anyone cares once we get that. Once we get up there, I mean, I don't care. Like, I don't think most people care. Like this right here, maybe at 550,000. But like, if you're going to get up to here, at some point, 600 to 650, now we're just we're splitting hairs at that point. So I think it should just be 700,000 at that point, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's easier for them to just add in the ability to, you know, manually enter. So like, if we wanted to, being able to like punch in the exact numbers would be cool. But I just feel like that might be a problem for them, because I don't think Roblox allows you to enter numbers, because I think it's going to get tagged. So if that's the case, just increment to 100,000s, and I think we're done on that. I think we're fixed. So beyond the duping, I think there's some things that can be done for the economy. So I actually thought when this cow update came out that we'd actually be buying. So I actually legit thought we were going to have to buy it, which is not a big deal to me, but because I think it's kind of cool that everyone gets one. But I feel like they should be sold here. So I think you should be able to buy animals too, and I have a feeling that's what's going to come. I think that's the plan, because if you look right here, it says, you know, we're trying to get an order of new animals. So my guess is they're already working on this. this, but I'd like to be able to buy animals as well. And it shouldn't be cheap. I think animals should be pretty expensive. I think they should cost in the millions because we obviously have millions very easily in this game. So, you know, I think they need a variety of animals, maybe some that are, you know, maybe in the millions and some that maybe are like super cheap, you know, maybe like a bird or, you know, maybe a chicken is cheap, but then you start getting into it. If you want another cow, if you want a second cow, maybe it's like $1 million or something, you know. I think you should have to buy those from Taliyah. The next thing I would say is, so Halloween is coming up. It would have been great if we had like a vendor that we could buy blocks from. Like maybe this guy has limited items. So like for a limited time, he's got, or even just like spawn something kind of like this, where there's another blocks vendor over here that's for the limited, just for a limited time. He appears here. The ability to buy like Halloween blocks. So like limited blocks, like, you know, you can get limited webs and things like that. And you can only buy them during this time. And so people are going to want to stock up on these, and it'll make a little economic boost for the game where a lot of people are, you know, reselling those later in the future. And it just adds this little bit of a limited edition. It's very Roblox friendly. I think, you know, we need this kind of stuff in Roblox, you know, the ability to have some limiteds, especially with trading in here. Limiteds are going to be huge for this game, because the other thing that's going to happen with limiteds is everyone that hasn't been playing Islands in like months are all going to come back to make sure they get items. They don't want to miss out on the limiteds because they haven't quit the game. They haven't quit playing Islands, but they haven't had a sense of urgency to play Islands. And that's what happens with Adopt Me with their limited events is, you know, they put out something new and limited, and then everyone, you know, piles into the game for a bit to grind out the limiteds, and then they take a break. So that's actually going to help the game quite a bit if we can get some limiteds, especially for Halloween. And if we miss Halloween, maybe there's Christmas. That'd be cool. Or some kind of holiday update would be neat, or even like a New Year's update. But having a little bit of the limiteds would be huge in this game. The other thing I think we need are more luxury blocks. I think we need like maybe lava blocks that are expensive, because again, I think I mentioned this before. The most expensive item here is 100 coins. I mean, there's 150,000 coin totems over here. So I don't see why we couldn't have like maybe 50,000 coin blocks over here that are like really, really great that we can buy from the block guy that we don't have to craft. So maybe it's like a lava block, for example, or maybe it's like a lava block and a water block or something. I don't know. And water blocks could just be like, maybe they just sparkle or twinkle, so they look like they have bubbles inside them. I don't know. So just something that looks cool that we can get from these guys for a lot more coins, so we can blow through our coin that way. Next up, I've got a content wish list here. I want the ability to auto harvest my trees, and then it's going to replant it, right? So it's only going to do the trees that are within range of itself. We need some way to auto harvest this stuff. And then I have an idea of actually having something like the nether portal that you can craft. So like having some kind of portal you can craft to go to a different world. It doesn't have to be the nether. It could be space. It could be some other dimension. It could be whatever. It could be anything, but I think it should take you to another world that's like a version of your island, but in a different dimension. And essentially that's how you get to the harder islands. So I think at some point, maybe that's how you get to like some really, really crazy bosses or something, or dungeon raids. And it could be shared. It could be shared by the same server. So if I have other people on the same server, they can access the same area too. So we can still go and maybe we can raid like bosses or something. But I think we need to fix duping before something like that happens, because I think if we had something like that, maybe the mobs there give you really, really great items. So I don't really want them duped. You know, I don't want to just like suddenly they spend all this time making this new area and all the items just get duped and kind of become worthless. Kind of like what happened with the desert. I mean, it's really unfortunate that the desert no longer has anything worth grinding. If you think about it, there's no reason to ever go to the desert anymore. So this entire island has been abandoned because of dupers, 100% because of dupers. So the first problem with this island is that no one wants this. Ever since it came out, no one really wanted this. Like red sandstone is pretty worthless. So what I was thinking is it's already a bit of a pain to get here as it is. We should have something like crystallized sandstone. Now, before we get something like that, we need to fix the cry gold issue, because there's no reason to ever farm gold for cry gold. So cry gold's kind of worthless still. I know that was a temporary fix to make food processors not use cry gold because of the bug, but cry gold was kind of useless before that happened. So cry gold's just kind of like one of those like neglected resources that are rare drops that no one ever really wants. Maybe there's some kind of weapon or something that we can do. Maybe there's something we can craft soon using cry gold. Maybe, you know, red bronze refineries could be using cry gold. Something needs to use cry gold. And then, you know, maybe if we had some other kind of rare drop inside the sandstone though, maybe there's a different type of block that's really rare that we can get out of these, because right now this is the most useless block ever. And then on top of that, because, you know, vamp bows have been duped like crazy, there's no reason to farm this area, which is really, really sad, because it was really cool, right? It was cool to be able to kill these things, but now that everyone has everything, these guys just never get any visitors. So we need to prevent that from happening again before before they release any new islands. If they release more islands with mobs, it's just going to be the same thing. I really don't think they should do it anymore. If we can get them more information on how to fix the duping, let's do it. Help me out. Even if you're one of the dupers, but if you want to help out, let me know. Next up, I want to talk about like a T conveyor, like a T splitter. So what would happen is things would go in, maybe it just goes into it like this, but then what happens is it connects to a conveyor on each side. And so instead what happens is anything that goes in it, one of each goes out the other way. So if one goes this, it basically alternates. So it could just go left and then the next time it goes right. So it has like the little in, and then you can feed stuff into it and then it just alternates left and right. That would actually solve our load balancers because then you could set up a bunch of splitters with a bunch of steel mills, and it solves our balancer problems altogether. You don't end up having to have weird hedges and bouncing things and worrying about physics to actually work, because it used to work better until they made this physics patch. And next I want to talk about colored blocks. I want to talk about colored blocks. Let's see, color table. So I think we need some more colored blocks. A lot of people have been talking about this. We do need like purple. We need like maybe a light blue would be cool. A green would have been great, even though we have bamboo. Just a solid green would have been nice. I'm thinking like tinted like black too. So like black glass would be really cool to be able to simulate smoke. I think, you know, maybe even like a white glass. So like something that's like maybe like a white clay would be really cool too. So you know, you can do something similar to the iron blocks, but instead of iron, because iron has a pattern on it. See that? It has like a little gray outline, and that doesn't look very well if you're trying to do something like carpet. So currently you can only do it with carpet, but the problem with carpet is you can't go up a wall. You can't make walls, right? So you have to use iron blocks for that. And then I'm not going to spell this one out, but it would be cool to have more Easter eggs in the game. That'd be really cool. More badges would be nice. The ability to do player versus player repeatable games like Bed Wars. So this one would take a lot of work for them. So they'd probably have to bring in some help to do this because they're so dedicated on, you know, the main game updates that I think this would take a bit of work. But having Bed Wars would be cool. So basically I can go and opt into a round with people on the server and play some Bed Wars. So it'd basically queue us up into a lobby and play that. And then having the ability to do boss fights or dungeon raids would be sweet. So the ability for us to go and run through. So the way that would work is if you're familiar with Dungeon Quest, a lot of you are. So the ability to go through a dungeon, and at the end of that dungeon, so you have to kill like scorpions. So you kill everything on the way down, and then the main door opens and you got to kill the boss, and that's when you get a rare drop. So I think that would be really cool. The problem is they got to fix the last hit. If we were going to do something like that, it's got to be shared loot. So all of us need to be able to get the same kind of loot from whatever that boss drops. And then last but not least is the ability to have enemy spawns or mobs spawn on your island. So invade your island. So if you remember, I had that in my island was invaded video that showed the buffer core on my island. I think there were even like slime on my island because a hacker during one of my live streams, a hacker joined my island and was doing that to my island, and it was actually really funny. It was probably one of the most innocent hacks I've seen ever. But that video gets a ton of views still. So you know, it's clear that people really like that, and I think it'd be really cool to see something like that again. But maybe there's like a rare chance for one of these mobs to spawn on your island. And it could be a new mob, and it could be a great way to get something new and rare as well. So you kill them. So you're looking forward to the night, you know, kind of like this. And you're like, hey, maybe tonight I'll get that mob. Kind of like the fireflies, you know, spawn at night. But instead of something innocent, you got to have your sword ready. Maybe you can, you know, add some torches out, kind of like Minecraft where you add torches and things don't, you know, get near you. But you could protect yourself if you needed to or wanted to. But then at night, maybe skeletons or something spawned on your island and you can go and kill them or something. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, and I'd love to hear your suggestions as well. Definitely comment below. You know, some of these are great ideas. Like I said, not all of them are great. One of the things I will tell you is I have confidence that the game team will add what they feel is important to them and the direction they want to take the game. Some of these may break the game, and some of these they just may not agree with it, which I fully respect. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.